start off with our vegan gumbo, I have all of my meat and seafood alternatives all grouped together, and I'm first going to be prepping our plant-based sausages. I actually make my own plant-based sausages from scratch, and I do have a recipe video that I will link down below if you want to learn how to make those yourself. You could also purchase your favorite plant-based sausage from the grocery store. But nonetheless, I start off by cooking those in my cast iron pan. I want to get a nice brown on both sides of these sausages, and then since I made mine from scratch, after I got that nice browning, I put them in the oven at about 350 to just let them stay warm and kind of get a little bit more firm as I prepped the rest of our ingredients. So moving right along, I'm taking some oyster mushrooms and I'm just chopping those down pretty finely. And for all of these meat alternatives, feel free to use however much you would like. For the oyster mushrooms, and this here is jackfruit, I took about 1.5 cups of each. And then I'm also going to be cooking those oyster mushrooms as well as that jackfruit in a cast iron pan. And for seasonings, I'm taking our all-purpose seasoning, our Creole seasoning, and I'm just letting all of that again cook down until it has a really nice browning to it. And the reason I like to cook the jackfruit and the oyster mushrooms in the pan first, because I want all of those seasonings to really stick to the jackfruit and the oyster mushrooms. So then when we put it in our gumbo, it just has even more flavor. So once you cook the jackfruit and the oyster mushrooms in your cast iron pan, you could turn off the heat and just set this to the side while we get ready to prep the ingredients for our roux. So for the roux, I'm going to be taking a red bell pepper, a green bell pepper, and a yellow bell pepper. And I'm taking just half of each of those bell peppers and 2 stalks of celery, as well as half of a small to medium sized brown onion. Right now, I'm just chopping all the vegetables down into still large pieces, but these are all gonna go into my food processor, which is gonna do all of the work to get everything minced nice and finely. Now, if you don't have a food processor, you can obviously chop everything by hand. Just make sure you have a really nice and sharp knife. So after I chop down all of those vegetables, I set those to the side and then we're ready to start on our roux. For the roux for our gumbo, I'm going to be taking 1 cup of avocado oil. This is half a cup, but I ended up in total adding 1 cup. So this is 1 cup of spelt flour, and then I'm mixing all of that around and shortly find that I need another half of cup of that avocado oil. So again, 1 cup of avocado oil to 1 cup of your flour of choice. I took whole grain spelt flour, so it is already brown. Now typically when you make a gumbo roux, they'll tell you to stir it until your flour turns brown. Spelt flour is already brown as soon as you get it started. So for me, what you want to do is you're going to be babysitting this roux. After I get the flour and oil mixture broken up with my whisk, I'm then going to go in with a nice flat, either you could use a wooden spoon, but you want to use something with a flat end. I have my stove on the lowest heat that it has, and you want to stir this. Do not take a break. Do not go use the restroom, nothing. You want to babysit your roux because you do not want it to burn. Again, this is on the lowest heat setting on my stove, and we're just scraping that bottom of the pan consistently, and I did this for about 10 minutes. Again, as I mentioned, the spelt flour is already brown, so we're not necessarily waiting for it to turn brown, but I did this for 10 minutes. And then we're going to next add in, still on the lowest heat setting that your stove has, we're adding in those vegetables that we just minced up in our food processor. So let's give all of that a nice stir, and as you combine all these vegetables with your roux, which is the base, This is all going to kind of form into essentially like a big paste. So I just go at this again, continuously stirring this. We do not want anything to burn. If your roux does burn, then that's what your gumbo is going to taste like. You're going to taste that little burnt taste. So if you mess up, just start over with the roux. Now I'm going in with, this is 32 ounces of vegetable broth, and I'm grabbing that whisk again because we want to break up any clumps. And then I'm going to go in with 6 cups of spring water, giving that again a nice good stir and keeping this heat on a low heat because we still need to prep some of our ingredients that are going to go into our vegan gumbo. I'm going to be taking some hearts of palm as one of our like seafood alternatives. I cut them in different size pieces and different shapes. So this is going to be like the crab alternative. And again, these are hearts of palm. Feel free to add however many you would like. So I'm just breaking these up into like strip-like pieces. And then I took 1 Roma tomato. You can also take 2 Roma tomatoes. It just all completely up to your liking. And then I also have here on the side, I have a little bit of sage, a little bit of rosemary, and a little bit of thyme. You can bunch all of your herbs into like a cheesecloth bag, or you could dump your herbs directly into your pot. Personally, I like those fresh herbs, so I just put them right into the pot. But first, for seasoning, I'm going in with our Italian seasoning, and I'm taking 1 tablespoon in total of our Italian seasoning, which just consists of lots of different dried herbs like basil, oregano, rosemary, thyme, and then I'm going in with our all-purpose seasoning, and I'm going to be taking 1 tablespoon of our all-purpose seasoning, giving that a really good stir. Followed by the all-purpose seasoning, I'm going to be going in with our Creole seasoning, which has a really nice natural smoke to it. It has a smoky aroma and also a slight smoky taste. So I'm taking 1 tablespoon of that, and then followed by the Creole seasoning, I'm going in with another tablespoon of our tomato basil seasoning. All of these seasonings that I'm mentioning to you guys are from our website, and they will all be linked down below, and that is where you could order these seasonings. Followed by the tomato basil seasoning, I'm lastly going in with our onion and herb seasoning. Now that you have all of your seasonings, give all of that a really good stir. I'm going to be taking a couple pods of cardamom. I took about 3 to 4 of them and just drop those right into your broth. Give that a nice good stir, and now we could add in that aroma tomato, the hearts of palm, and then those loose herbs that I just mentioned to you guys. Right about now, you could begin to turn your heat up to a low medium. Followed by those herbs, tomato, and hearts of palm. We're adding in, this is that jackfruit and oyster mushrooms that we cooked earlier in our cast iron pan. Dump all of that into your pot. I'm adding a few bay leaves. These are really small bay leaves, so if you have larger bay leaves, maybe 1 to 2 of them. I'm now taking 1 tablespoon of tomato paste. And right now I'm chopping half of a leek, and I'm using the end that is closest to the white part of the leek, so the bottom of the leek. And I'm just chopping that up, and then followed by chopping up that half of leek, I'm going to be taking just a little bit of fresh parsley. This is the curly parsley, but you could use whichever parsley you would like. And then I'm going to be taking a little bit of jalapeno, and I'm going to be chopping up that jalapeno, and we're going to be adding all of this as well, again, into our pot. So now that I added all of that into the pot, I'm gonna give this a good stir. I'm gonna put the lid on. Again, we're on a medium to low heat because we are still prepping some ingredients. So bring some water to a boil, and we are going to rehydrate our dried mushrooms. These are chicken of the woods mushrooms, which are a plant-based chicken alternative. And to rehydrate them, they come dried, so you want to put them in boiling hot water, not only to rehydrate them, but also to remove any excess debris that might be on the mushrooms. These mushrooms rehydrate really well, and the texture is identical to chicken, and it's just so beautiful that nature literally created something. Not only is it called chicken of the woods, but it is quite literally chicken of the woods. So I love these mushrooms. And then followed by the chicken of the woods, I'm also going to add in some lobster mushrooms, which also are dried and need to be rehydrated. And again, putting them in the boiling hot water will also help to remove any excess debris from the mushrooms. Now, both of these dried mushrooms can also be found on our website, and they will be linked in the description box below. So I'm just going to add those into that same pot of boiling water to rehydrate the mushrooms. Now, the mushrooms only need about 10 to 15 minutes to fully rehydrate. And once you rehydrate them, you will begin to notice that the water has probably become a brownish color. So you could then strain them, brush them off. If you have any debris that's stuck to them, give them a good rinse, and then you could prep them. I also did add a little bit of dried chanterelle mushrooms in there as well. And I'm just chopping all of the mushrooms down into smaller pieces. Now that our mushrooms are rehydrated and nice and clean, we could add them back into our pot with all of our other ingredients. From here, we could turn our heat up to a complete medium heat. I didn't cook this on a high heat. It was cooked on a medium heat the whole time from this point on. Put the lid on it, and then at the very end, about 10 minutes before you are ready to serve, I'm going to add in our lion's mane mushroom. These are delicate mushrooms, so they don't need to cook the whole time. You can add them in sooner, but for me, I'm adding the lion's mane mushrooms in at the very end, right before turning off our heat. So we're just going to pop those in there, and then the same thing with your vegan sausages. I prefer to just add them in at the very end so that they don't get too soft or even soggy, depending on which sausages you are using. Give all of that a really nice stir. At this point, the heat is turned off. In total, I cooked this for about 45 minutes to an hour. And this is what it looks like. It looks so good. We have lots and lots of great textures and flavors between the mushrooms, the hearts of palm, our homemade vegan sausages, all the vegetables in there, the herbs. At this point, you can also take out those whole herbs that we added, like the sage and the rosemary, if you would like. I did also cook some quinoa on the side. You could either pair this with quinoa or rice of your choice. So I'm just putting my quinoa in a bowl, pressing it down really flat so we could get that really nice aesthetic for plating. And then at this point, you can get ready to enjoy your 100% vegan gumbo. This gumbo was so good. This was a serving size for 2 people. This probably could feed more people, but we absolutely loved it and it was gone. We had leftovers barely for one day. So again, if you are making this for more people, then obviously you can adjust the liquid ratio and obviously put it in a larger pot. But this is the final result for our vegan gumbo. I topped it off with some green onions and some more of that fresh parsley, and it was ready to go. I hope you guys enjoyed this super easy vegan gumbo, and I will see you guys in our next video.